At Dad's retirement party, he tossed my gift in the trash, saying, "Is this a joke?" Inside was the deed to the vacation home he'd been dreaming about for 30 years. Please take a second to support our channel, hit subscribe and drop a comment saying where you're watching from. You're part of this story too. I watched Dad's retirement party unfold from the corner of the country club ballroom, my heart hammering against my ribs. The envelope in my purse felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Inside was the deed to that lakefront cabin in North Carolina, the one he'd circled in real estate magazines for 3 decades, the one Mom promised they'd buy someday. That someday never came before cancer took her 2 years ago. I'd worked 3 jobs for 18 months. Every weekend, every holiday, every spare moment went into saving the $250,000. At 28, I had nothing. No savings, no social life, no relationship. But I had this gift, this one perfect thing that would show Dad I remembered his dreams. Anna. My stepmother Marjorie's voice cut through my thoughts like glass. She glided over in her designer dress, martini in hand, her smile sharp as a blade. "Why are you hiding over here? This is your father's big day." She'd only been in the picture for 14 months. Married Dad 6 months after Mom died. I bit back the familiar resentment, just waiting for the right moment to give him my gift. Marjorie's eyes flickered with something I couldn't quite read. How sweet. Though I'm sure whatever we got him will be hard to top. Her laugh was like wind chimes made of knives. We bought him a Rolex. $18,000. My stomach twisted. This wasn't a competition, was it? Around us, Dad's colleagues from the fire department raised glasses. 40 years of service, they cheered. Chief Mateo Bryant retiring at 63. My hero. I just wanted to make him proud. My older brother Julian arrived late as always, making his entrance with his wife Simone and their twin daughters. People swarmed him immediately. Julian, the successful corporate lawyer. Julian, who made partner at 35. Julian, who lived in the house Dad helped him buy while I scraped by in a studio apartment with mold in the bathroom. There's my son. Dad's face lit up in a way it hadn't when I'd arrived 3 hours early to help set up. He embraced Julian with the kind of warmth that made my chest ache. I remembered being 12, overhearing Dad tell Uncle Ray that he'd always wanted a son to carry on the family name. Julian got the college fund. I got community college and student loans that still haunted me. Julian got help with his down payment. I got, "You're so independent, Anna. You don't need our help." Mom used to balance it out, making sure I felt seen. But she was gone now. "Anna, come meet my boss," Julian called out, barely glancing at me. I walked over, fixing my smile. His boss, an older white man named Richard, shook my hand limply. "So you're the sister. What do you do?" "I'm a social worker at—" "That's nice," Richard interrupted, already turning back to Julian. "As I was saying about the merger." I faded into the background as usual. But tonight would be different. Tonight Dad would finally see me. Really see me. Marjorie was watching me from across the room. Her expression was unreadable, but something about it made my skin prickle. She whispered something to her daughter from her first marriage, Brittany, who'd just arrived. Brittany, who was only 25 but had Dad wrapped around her finger. The walls were closing in. I needed air. I stepped onto the balcony, letting the May evening cool my flushed face. The city lights of Atlanta sprawled below, indifferent to my small drama. I pulled out my phone and opened my photos, landing on one of Mom. We were at Lake Hartwell 5 summers before she died. Dad had rented a cabin for the weekend, the only vacation I remember us taking. He'd stood on the dock at sunset, arm around Mom, pointing across the water. "One day, baby. One day I'm gonna buy us a place just like this. We'll retire here, watch the grandkids swim, grow old together." Mom had squeezed his hand. 30 years of putting out fires. You deserve it, Mateo. I was behind them with my disposable camera, capturing the moment. The joy on his face. The hope. That image had driven me through every double shift, every missed birthday party, every sacrifice. Hiding again? Julian's voice startled me. He stepped onto the balcony, drink in hand. You know Marjorie thinks you're being rude. I'm not hiding. I'm just... Look, I know things have been hard since Mom died. His tone was diplomatic, lawyer smooth. But you need to accept that Dad's moved on. Marjorie makes him happy. You can't keep acting like she's the enemy. My hands clenched. I never said. You don't have to say it. It's written all over your face. He sighed. Dad deserves to be happy, Anna. Don't ruin tonight with your attitude. My attitude. As if I was the problem. As if I hadn't spent the last 2 years watching Marjorie systematically erase Mom from Dad's life. The photos that disappeared. The furniture that got donated. Mom's garden that got paved over for a hot tub. I have a gift for him, I said quietly. It's important. Julian patted my shoulder like I was a child. That's sweet. Just, don't make it weird, okay? Back inside, Marjorie was tapping a champagne glass with her perfectly manicured nails. The crowd quieted. Everyone, thank you so much for celebrating Mateo tonight. 40 years of heroism, of saving lives, of being Atlanta's bravest. She gazed at Dad with adoring eyes that somehow felt performative. And now, as he begins this new chapter, I have a special announcement. My pulse quickened. This wasn't part of the plan. Marjorie wasn't supposed to speak. As many of you know, Mateo has always dreamed of a quiet retirement by the water. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. My stomach dropped. Oh, she couldn't possibly. So I've spent the past 6 months secretly planning the perfect gift. Mateo, darling, we're moving to our new lake house in North Carolina. She produced a set of keys from her purse, dangling them triumphantly. I closed on the property yesterday. We leave in 2 weeks. The room erupted in applause. Dad's face went through shock, joy, then pure elation. He swept Marjorie into his arms, kissing her as people cheered. Baby, you didn't. How did you? I used my inheritance from my mother, Marjorie said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Nothing's too good for you, my love. I couldn't breathe. The envelope in my purse suddenly felt like evidence of my own stupidity. She'd bought him a lake house. I'd bought him a lake house. But hers came with keys and applause while mine sat worthless in my bag. Brittany caught my eye across the room and smirked. She'd known. They'd all known. I'd been beaten at my own game and I hadn't even known we were playing. I cornered Marjorie in the hallway outside the bathrooms. My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice steady. Did you know? She turned to me, her smile evaporating. Did I know what, Anna? About my gift. About the cabin I bought him. I watched her face carefully. Nothing. Not even a flicker. Either she was an incredible actress or... Why would I know anything about your gift? Her voice was ice. Though I have to say the timing is unfortunate for you. But you'll still give it to him, won't you? I'm sure he'll appreciate the thought even if... She trailed off, letting the implication hang. Even if what? Even if it's redundant now. She checked her lipstick in a compact mirror. But don't let that stop you. I'm sure whatever you got him from your limited budget will be lovely. The condescension in her tone made my blood boil. I bought him a lake house too. In North Carolina. Near Asheville. The one he's been talking about for 30 years. Now I saw it, a flash of something in her eyes. Panic, anger, but it was gone in an instant. Is that so? Well, how coincidental. She snapped the compact shut. Mateo and I are moving to Lake Norman. 2,500 square feet for bedrooms, boat dock. Where's yours? Lake Lure. 3 bedrooms, original hardwood, half-acre. Lake Lure. She laughed, short and sharp. That's 2 hours from where we'll be. So your gift is a property he'll never use in a location that's inconvenient, that he'll now have to maintain or sell. Quite the burden you're giving him. I hadn't thought of that. Marjorie's house was where they'd actually live. Mine was, what? A consolation prize? A white elephant. She leaned in close. Here's some free advice, sweetheart. Return it. Get your money back. Use it to fix whatever's broken in your own life instead of trying to buy your father's love. Then she walked away, leaving me gutted in the hallway. I should have left. Should have driven home, put the deed in a drawer and never spoken of it. But I'd worked too hard. Sacrificed too much. This gift represented 18 months of my life and Dad deserved to know that. I found him in the center of a crowd, regaling everyone with stories from his glory days. The fire at the apartment complex in '98. The child he rescued from the car accident in 2003. He was holding court the way he always did, the way he'd done at every family gathering when Mom was alive and I was invisible. Dad. I touched his elbow. Can I talk to you for a minute? He turned, his smile dimming slightly. Anna, honey, I'm right in the middle of. It'll just take a second. I have something for you. Julian appeared at Dad's other side. Sis, maybe later? People are. No, it's fine. Dad's voice had that forced cheerfulness he used when he was irritated but trying to be nice. What is it, baby girl? My hands trembled as I pulled out the envelope. It wasn't fancy, just a manila folder from Staples. Inside, the deed, the keys, and a photo of the cabin I'd printed from the realtor's website. I know Marjorie already gave you an amazing gift, I started, my voice cracking. But I wanted you to have this too. I've been working on it for. Dad took the envelope, barely glancing at it. Anna, sweetheart, you didn't have to get me anything. Your presence here is gift enough. Just open it. Please. The crowd had quieted, sensing drama. Dad opened the envelope, pulled out the contents. His face went through several emotions I couldn't read. Then he looked at me, his expression hardening. Is this a joke? The words hit me like a physical blow. What? No, You bought me a house? His voice was rising. Without asking me. Without discussing it with me or Marjorie. I stammered. I thought, you always talked about Lake Lure, about retiring there, and I wanted to. You thought what exactly? Dad's face was reddening. That you could just make a major financial decision for me? Do you have any idea how complicated this makes everything? Property taxes, maintenance, insurance. We already have a lake house, Anna. People were staring now. I felt my face burning. I was trying to do something nice. You've dreamed about this for 30 years. 30 years ago, yes. But things change. Plans change. I've moved on. He shoved the papers back into the envelope. This is the most irresponsible thing I've ever seen. What were you thinking? Marjorie had materialized beside him, her hand on his arm. Mateo, let's not make a scene. But he was already walking toward the garbage can in the corner of the room. My heart stopped. Dad, no. He threw the envelope into the trash with such force that it hit the bottom with a slap that echoed through the silent room. I don't need 2 houses, Anna. And I don't need you making decisions about my life without consulting me. The trash. He'd thrown it in the trash. In front of everyone. 18 months of my life, every sacrifice, every missed moment. Trash. Julian grabbed my arm. Okay, let's go get some air. I yanked away from him. He knew. You both knew about Marjorie's gift, didn't you? The look on his face was answer enough. Did everyone know except me? My voice was getting louder, hysteria creeping in. Was this whole thing planned? Get Anna to waste her money so you could all laugh. Nobody's laughing, Dad said, but I saw Brittany behind him, her hand over her mouth, shoulders shaking. He was absolutely laughing. I ran. Pushed through the crowd, through the double doors into the parking lot. Behind me I heard Julian calling, but I didn't stop. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, tears streaming down my face. My phone buzzed. Julian. I ignored it. Buzzed again. That. Ignored. Then a number I didn't recognize. Hello. My voice was wrecked. Is this Anna Bryant? A woman's voice, professional. This is Sandra Ramsey from Lakeview Properties. I wanted to follow up on the Lake Lure property. You'd mentioned possibly listing it for sale. I hadn't mentioned that. I'd only spoken to the realtor twice. Once to view it, once to close. I'm sorry, who gave you this idea? Boss. Your stepmother, Marjorie Bryant. She called me this afternoon asking about the resale value and how quickly we could list it. She said you'd be calling to authorize the listing. The world tilted. Marjorie called you? Today. Before the party. Yes, around 2 p.m. She seemed quite familiar with the property details. I assumed she was helping coordinate. I hung up. My mind was racing. Marjorie had called the realtor before the party. Before Dad opened the gift. Before he threw it in the trash. She'd already been planning to sell it. Which meant she'd known about my gift all along. But how? I'd told no one. The purchase was in my name only. I'd been so careful. Unless. The realtor. I'd used Lake Hartwell Properties for the purchase. Same company Dad and Mom had talked to years ago about buying. Marjorie must have called them, fishing for information, maybe claiming to be coordinating a surprise. The realtor probably mentioned they'd recently sold the Lake Lure property to Anna Bryant. Marjorie had orchestrated everything. The announcement. The timing. The public humiliation. She'd known exactly what my gift was and had deliberately beaten me to it, made mine worthless, ensured Dad would reject it. And Dad had played his part perfectly, never questioning, never thinking twice about throwing his daughter's heart in the garbage. My phone rang again. This time it was Simone, Julian's wife. Don't hang up, she said immediately. I need to tell you something. Simone's voice was tight with urgency. I'm in my car. Julian doesn't know I'm calling. You need to hear this. What? I was exhausted, emotionally gutted. 3 months ago, I overheard Marjorie on the phone with her attorney. She was asking about George's inheritance laws, about what happens to property purchased during a marriage versus before. Simone took a breath. Anna, I think she married your dad for his money. I almost laughed. Dad's a retired fire chief. He doesn't have money. He has a pension worth almost $3 million over his lifetime. He has the house in Buckhead that's worth $800,000 fully paid off. He has life insurance investments. And when your grandmother died last year, he inherited her estate, another $500,000. My grandmother. Dad's mother. I'd been so wrapped up in work I'd barely processed her death. The funeral was a blur. I didn't know about any of that. Because Marjorie made sure you didn't. She's been isolating him, slowly cutting you and Julian out. Well, you more than Julian. She sees you as competition. Simone's voice dropped. After I heard that call, I started paying attention. She's been transferring money, changing beneficiaries. Your dad mentioned updating his will last month. I guarantee you're not in it anymore. Why are you telling me this now? Because watching what she did tonight made me sick. That was calculated, Anna. That was cruelty. And your dad. She paused. Your dad's changing. He's not the man your mom married. Marjorie's got him convinced that you're jealous, that you never approved of their relationship, that you're trying to cause problems. She's been poisoning him against you for months. I remember Dad's face as he threw my gift away. The coldness. The anger. That wasn't my father. Or was it? There's something else, Simone continued. Brittany, Marjorie's daughter? She's been arrested twice for credit card fraud. Marjorie paid to make it go away both times. And guess whose credit she stole the second time? Whose? Your dad's. I woke up at dawn, my pillow damp with tears, my eyes swollen. My phone showed 23 missed calls. 12 from Julian, 7 from Dad, 3 from Marjorie, and 1 from my Aunt Pauline, Mom's sister. I called Pauline back. She answered on the first ring. Baby, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. How did you? Julian called me at midnight. Said you'd run out of the party upset. Her voice was gentle but firm. Anna, I need to tell you something about your mama. Something I promised her I wouldn't say until you needed to hear it. I sat up in bed. What? Your mama knew she was dying 6 months before she told anyone. She used those 6 months to make sure everything was in order for you. She had a lawyer draw up documents, set aside money. She made your daddy promise he'd take care of you, that he'd make sure you got your fair share of everything. My chest tightened. What are you saying? I'm saying there's an account at First National Bank in your name. Your mama put $75,000 in it. Life insurance money. She made your daddy co-signer so he could help you access it when you needed it. $75,000. I'd been working 3 jobs. Struggling to save. Why didn't Dad tell me? Silence. Then, check your credit report, baby. Check it right now. I pulled up the app on my phone with shaking hands. Loans. Multiple loans. Credit cards. All opened in my name over the past 14 months. Total debt, $83,000. All delinquent. That's not me, I whispered. I didn't open these. I know, baby. But someone with access to your social security number and birth certificate did. Someone who had legal access to your documents as your father's spouse. Marjorie. Marjorie had stolen from Mom's account for me, ruined my credit, and probably used the money for her lake house. You need a lawyer, Pauline said. And you need to get that deed from the trash before someone else does something with it. I drove back to the country club at 7 a.m. The cleaning crew was there. I explained I'd left something at the party and they let me in. The ballroom was trashed. Empty glasses, wilted flowers, crumpled napkins. The garbage cans had been emptied. Looking for something specific? An older black woman in a cleaning uniform asked. Her name tag said Dorothy. An envelope. Someone threw it away last night. Manila folder with papers inside. Dorothy studied my face. Your Chief Bryant's daughter. I saw what happened. She walked to a supply closet, reached behind a shelf and pulled out my envelope. I grabbed it after you left. Saw what was inside. Nobody throws away a deed to a house unless they're hurting too much to think straight. I took it with shaking hands. Thank you. God, thank you. My husband was a firefighter. Died in the line of duty 12 years ago. Dorothy's eyes were kind. Your daddy was at the funeral. Gave the eulogy. He was a good man then. I don't know what happened to him, but that man last night? That wasn't Chief Mateo Bryant. That was someone else wearing his face. I drove straight to a lawyer's office. I'd found one online who specialized in family law and fraud. Her name was Vanessa Sellers, and her reviews mentioned she was ruthless. Let me get this straight, Vanessa said after I'd explained everything. She was 40-something with natural hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Your stepmother committed identity theft. Your father possibly conspired in it or at minimum was negligent as a co-signer, and they publicly humiliated you to cover their tracks? I don't think Dad knew about the fraud. I think Marjorie. Doesn't matter. He had a fiduciary responsibility to protect that account. He failed. And you have proof of damages. Emotional distress, financial harm, reputational damage. She leaned forward. Do you want to go after them? Did I? They were my family. Dad was all I had left. Except he'd thrown me away as easily as he'd thrown away my gift. Yes, I said. I want to go after them. Vanessa insisted on being present when I confronted Dad. We arranged to meet at his house, the house Mom had decorated where I'd grown up, that now had Marjorie's stamp on every surface. Dad answered the door in his bathrobe, confused. Anna. It's 9 a.m. on a Sunday. What's... He saw Vanessa. Who's this? My attorney. We need to talk about the account at First National Bank. The one Mom set up for me. His face changed. Anna, I can explain. You can explain how $83,000 got stolen from my account? How credit cards were opened in my name? How my credit score is now 427. My voice was steel. I'd cried all my tears. Now I was just angry. Where's Marjorie? She's asleep. And you need to lower your voice. Marjorie! I shouted. Get down here. Now. She appeared at the top of the stairs in a silk nightgown, playing innocent. Anna, what on earth? You stole from me. You committed identity theft. And you're going to fix it or I'm pressing charges. Dad moved between us. Now wait just a minute. Nobody's pressing charges against anyone. We're family. Are we? I looked at him, really looked at him. Because family doesn't throw gifts in the trash. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't lie. I didn't steal anything, Marjorie said, but her voice wavered. Vanessa stepped forward. Mrs. Bryant, I have bank records showing withdrawals from Ms. Bryant's account that correspond with deposits into your personal account. I have credit applications with her forged signature that match your handwriting from your marriage license. And I have testimony from the realtor that you called asking about the Lake Lure property before the party, which means you knew about the gift and deliberately orchestrated its rejection. The color drained from Marjorie's face. So here's what's going to happen, Vanessa continued. You're going to repay every cent plus damages. You're going to contact the credit bureaus and fix her credit. And you're going to sign an affidavit admitting what you did. Or what? Dad's voice was defensive, protective, of Marjorie, not me. Or we file criminal charges, sue for damages and expose everything publicly. Your pension could be affected if it's found you were complicit in fraud. The legal process took 4 months. Marjorie repaid the money in full plus $50,000 in damages. Her lawyer tried to fight it, but the evidence was overwhelming. Dad stood by her throughout, which told me everything I needed to know about where his loyalties lay. Julian called occasionally, trying to mediate. She's going to therapy, he'd say. Dad wants to rebuild the relationship. But I was done building relationships with people who'd rather destroy me than admit they were wrong. I kept the Lake Lure cabin. Turned out it was exactly what I needed. I quit 2 of my 3 jobs, kept my social work position and spent weekends at the lake. I painted the shutters blue like Mom always wanted. Planted a garden. Built a life. Aunt Pauline visited often. Simone and her daughters came for a week in the summer. Dorothy from the country club came for Thanksgiving, and we laughed about the rescue mission for my deed. A year after the party I got a letter from Dad. He'd filed for divorce from Marjorie. She'd been arrested for defrauding another elderly man she'd met online. Dad was alone, his pension diminished by legal fees, his reputation damaged by association. He wanted to talk, he wrote. He wanted to explain, to apologize, to start over. I read the letter once. Then I lit it on fire in my fireplace and watched it burn. Some bridges, once burned, aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some families are the ones you choose, not the ones you're born into. And some gifts, the ones you give yourself, are the only ones that matter. I sat on my dock watching the sunset paint the water gold and pink. The cabin creaked behind me, settling into itself. Mom's cabin. My cabin. The home I'd built from sacrifice and determination and love. Dad had called it a joke. But I was the one laughing now, whole and healed and free, while he lived with the consequences of choosing cruelty over compassion, Marjorie over his daughter, pride over love. I'd given him the gift of his dreams and he'd thrown it away. So I kept it for myself. And discovered that sometimes the best revenge is living well, on your own terms in your own house with your own hard-won peace. The lake whispered against the shore. I whispered back, "This one's for you, Mama." And I finally felt like I'd come home.